Dzień dobry Państwu, witam wszystkich bardzo serdecznie. Dzisiaj w Medexpressie mamy wyjątkowego gościa, Thomas Weigold. Hello Thomas, nice to have you here.
Nice to meet you.
Thomas Weigold jest prezesem zarządu firmy Sandoz od 2020 roku, od sierpnia. Będziemy rozmawiać o jego doświadczeniach i o planach i priorytetach, które znajdują się na pewno na liście firmy farmaceutycznej Sandoz. Dodam jeszcze tytułem wstępu, że nasz gość jest także członkiem Rady Nadzorczej Polskiego Związku Pracodawców Przemysłu Farmaceutycznego. Zapraszam na tę rozmowę. Thomas, I would like to start our conversation by asking you about the war in Ukraine and the aid movement that clearly has developed since February 24th. Please tell us about this kind of aid activities that you are involved in as a company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's a really difficult situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much after the invasion started, we organized ourselves in two big ways, right? So one was, how can we support families? We have 500 associates working for our company in Ukraine. Some decided to bring the families over the border to stay safe, and we have organized ourselves to fully support them. So we have a lot of volunteers to really pick them up even from the border, and provide accommodation, help them to really set up for probably quite some while alive here in Poland. Or if they have families or relatives in other countries in Europe, we also provided them the network in order to really make sure they can also move on, right? That was very important for us because patients matter a lot, of course, in such a situation. And then the second part, which we also can do because we are in this business, right? We can provide also medicine into the Ukraine, because a lot of patients there, they're starting to be desperate, not having access to their medicines. So what we did, first of all, as a company, we donated all the medicines which we had in the Ukraine in a warehouse there to the Ministry of Health, so that they can immediately then use that. And then in addition, we organized a network, logistical network with all our companies' representations in Europe to identify what kind of medicine is needed in the Ukraine. And then we established with a strategic reserve agency here in Poland a donation pathway so that we can really bring all these medicines like antibiotics, painkillers and so forth to Poland. We donate it here to the strategic reserve agency, and they, in alignment then with the Ukrainian Ministry of Health, they could distribute then our products to the different parts in Ukraine. And it's a big part. I mean, it's more than 1.2 million packs we have already donated. It's around $25 million in value, which has already gone into the Ukraine. And I'm still expecting additional donation goods to come from Canada. We're expecting a pretty big shipment very soon. And these are the two ways, right? I mean, to support patients and families in need of medicines in the Ukraine, while at the same time also everybody who's coming here to try to support as much as possible the families then here in Poland.
That's really uplifting, I think, that we can all as a society get together and help people in Ukraine. So you mentioned about the drugs, so let's move to this subject. I would like to ask you about drug safety, because that's really important, and I'm wondering about many things here. First of all, do you think that patients are aware of this subject, drug safety? Do they understand this? How we should understand this topic?
Yeah, I think now we have to deal with the second crisis in a pretty short period of time, right? And I think already, let's say that the advantage of having drugs available in a country became pretty clear also during the pandemic situation, right? I think that a big part of the population understand that medicines have to be produced and then they have to be also available in a country, right? So from a Sandoz perspective, right, we are one of the biggest producers of medicines in the world and definitely in Europe. We have invested a lot in production in Poland as well. So we have a production site in Stryków and another one here in Warsaw. And we are producing bulk medicines in large scale. So we produce 9 billion tablets every year in Poland. And on top of that, we're packaging another 10 billion tablets here in Poland, right? So it's a huge investment. We have also 3 high-tech laboratories in Poland, because you want to also make sure that the quality is at absolutely high standards. And we have 1,600 people working for us here in Poland. So the first element, I think from my perspective, is that you have relevance in the footprint and in the production in a country. That's a discussion we have ongoing with the Ministry of Health, how to really find the sweet spot to provide this drug safety partnership. And when you talk about this, I think a society needs to look at 2 things. You need to identify what are essential medicines you want to have available in the country and secure that availability. But then we have a population of almost now 40 million or even more with the families who came over the border. You need also large capacity, volume capacity in order to have a drug safety situation, right? And for us, that is an ongoing discussion with the ministry. Also, as an association where I'm also participating, you need both, right? You need clear, defined, critical products, but then you need also volume, because we talk about 40 million people, right? And the discussion at the moment is how to really define the drug safety partnership and ensuring both elements, right? And it's critical to have also companies, large companies, who can provide then the volume behind it, right? And at the moment, I think there is an ongoing discussion that you should either produce a certain percentage of your portfolio in Poland, or you should produce enough volume in Poland that you would apply as a drug safety partner, basically, right?
You mentioned about the discussion with the Ministry of Health. What are the results of this discussion for now? Where is this discussion going to?
So it's an ongoing discussion with them, but I think it's great also that they start to look into this and listen also to all the players, right, and all the stakeholders in healthcare. Where we land at the moment in the discussion is really to have the combination of either you produce more than 100 million standard units in Poland, because that gives you then the volume security, or you're a company, maybe a bit more a niche player, but you have really this kind of essential medicines. And at the moment, the discussion is how to combine these 2 elements. And I think it's a good discussion, because it will lead into a situation that you can have a much higher drug safety than in the country.
Okay. What does the drug production in Sandoz in Poland looks like? Tell us more about this whole domestic production.
So we have, since many, many years, big investments in production in Poland, right? So we have a large production facility in Stryków, where we do bulk production. So we produce really the tablets, plus we package, right? So sometimes also we get then the tablets from other centers of excellence from Europe, but we then package, blister, pack everything in Stryków or in Warsaw. So we have these 2 sites. We have invested, meanwhile, already 900 million Polish zloty in the production capacities here, and we're further expanding. So we will open another packaging line this year, because it's a great place to invest. And I think it's important also then that you can also produce in Poland, not only for the Polish market, so a big part goes to the Polish consumers and patients, but also we have here a European center of excellence. So we're producing a lot also for other European countries, right? And I think it's great to contribute in that way to employment, to really make sure, because also there are a lot of then other companies helping us we need in order to run our factory. So in total, I think it's a great investment, right? Maybe one other aspect which becomes more and more relevant is also, can you produce in a more sustainable manner, right? So in the last years, we have reduced, for example, electricity consumption by 30%, gas consumption by 45%. So there are a lot of initiatives also in both sides, how we can be more, let's say, sustainable in also energy, right? And that's a hot topic, of course, at the moment as well, right?
As I said before at the beginning, you are the CEO of Sandisk Poland since August 2020. So a great year to start a job. 2020, we remember the pandemic. Your experience in running large organizations is really huge. Before Sandisk, you had worked for Novartis and changed significantly the strategy in Novartis China. So, what are the Sandisk priorities for now?
Yeah, so for Poland, I think it's first of all great that I could have the experience from so many different disease areas by having worked in different parts of our company, right? So from primary care, cardiovascular treatments, all the way to oncology, right? Now coming to Sandoz in Poland, our portfolio is very, very large. We are one of the biggest companies in Europe, also in Poland. So we have, of course, now generic and biosimilars in all these different areas. So it was helping me a lot to understand what does it take to provide the services and educational elements, for example, for cardiovascular products or for multiple sclerosis or for cancer products, right? So what we plan in Poland with Sandoz is to expand further our offer so that we provide more access to medicines and also partly now to the more innovative biosimilar medicines, which is at the moment a big discussion point also. How could we expand the access? So we want to launch more products. We want to also only have products with high quality. So that's a very big element as well. And then we try also to find an affordable situation for the society, right? So we're discussing a lot, of course, also what are right price levels, right? And for example, if you talk about biologics, we can sometimes, we are offering a price discount after we launching our biosimilar between 50 to even 90%. So there's a huge discount coming with our offer then. And what we're working now also in an open dialogue with the ministry, how can we also provide then better access or broader access after we drop the prices very much? I think there must be then also a way to provide more access, right? So we're working on this in the future. We're working to expand further our production in Poland. And personally, I'm very passionate also to work with our own people, right? I mean, so the well-being is that they also have a great environment to work for Sandoz, right? And there's always something you need to adjust and also to reflect the times we're living in, right?
Right. I always wonder, where do people like you with such a big experience get still inspiration for further projects and activities? So I have a question for you, like for a superhero. What is your source of power?
I think it's a lot the curiosity, right? I mean, you need to bring in our roles, I mean, every day, I mean, to your job, right? I think the one thing what we know is, right, we are in a constant change, and I don't see change as something negative. I see it as always as an opportunity. But then you also have to stay open, right? You have to learn, you have to listen. And I can tell you one source of inspiration for me is to talk also to younger people, right? So for example, I do a reverse mentoring at the moment with one of our digital marketeers who helps me to understand better what are the future opportunities, where's, let's say, also the next generation going to, right? It's highly interesting to listen to younger people or at least to different perspectives, right? Because then you learn a lot. And frankly, also I spend quite some time also talking to our customers, because the reality of our customers is our business opportunity in the future, right? So I think just having a lot of diverse open dialogues is for me a huge source of inspiration and getting new ideas on where to take the company from here, right?
That's really a pleasure to hear that. May I ask you a private question?
Sure.
Do you remember when you were a child who you wanted to be in the future when you grew up?
Yes, it's a standard question, right, sometimes. But I must say, when I was a boy, I think I was clear I wanted to do a job or go into a profession where I just have passion for, right? So I did not want to do a job where I don't have fun every day coming to work, right? And frankly, when I was a boy, probably similar to a lot of children or boys, I wanted to be more an athlete. That's where I've seen my passion and the fun and everything. Then, of course, at one point you face reality that probably something else is better for you if you're not good enough to be a professional athlete. And I'm very happy where I landed with my career. Because really I bring every day, I mean, the fun and the passion to what I'm doing, right? So producing medicines at a high quality, but then also making sure that it's reaching patients and also doctors who can treat. I mean, for me is super energizing, and to some extent I met my dream from the young boy time, right, in the job I'm doing today, to be frank.
Okay, you're not an athlete, but you are a CEO, and you're happy with that.
Yes.
But my next question is connected with the with the one I asked you. If life is about the constant verification of our dreams and our plans, what do you take into consideration when planning future for this kind of big company as Sandisk?
So I think there are a couple of very important areas you need to always have inside, right? One is, what are the future needs of a society, right? I think we see that, for example, cancer products are needed more. Unfortunately, cancer is something which is still on the rise. You see also that this kind of more demographic changes in a society will translate in our business, if you want. So also in different needs, right? So for example, neuroscience becomes a bigger topic. Ophthalmology, eyesight becomes a bigger topic. Cancer, as I said, right? So we try to anticipate, well, okay, what is in the next couple of years the need of a society with regards to medicines, right? But then also we have to always also plan in a sustainable way. So, for example, at the moment, of course, I mean, the cost structure is a different one than half a year ago, right? So we have to also then plan how we can make everything sustainable, right? So you have to factor this in. That's why I was mentioning also that we are investing, for example, in our facilities in more green energy production or saving energy, because that will help also then to sustain into the future, right? And to be also a good partner then in a country. And then the third one is also about our own people, right? So what kind of capabilities, what kind of environment is best for our people, because we want to have very engaged and energized people, right? So give you another example, we have a lot of flexibility how we work. So we don't mandate everybody back now after the pandemic and say, look, you work the whole week in the office. We give a lot of flexibility that people can work from home, can work in the office. So we leave it more to the teams to organize themselves, right? So this whole element of health and well-being for our associates is a very critical success factor. And actually, I'm happy also that we got just an award from the Ministry of Health for one of these companies taking care about the well-being and the health of the associates. So I would say if you do these three things, then you have a really good strategic roadmap ahead of you, right?
Thomas, thank you very much for our conversation. Now we all know what are your 3 life hacks. Dziękuję Państwu bardzo za uwagę. Państwa i moim gościem był Thomas Weigold, prezes zarządu Sandisk Polska.